Greetings. What's up? You have to forgive me for my voice. The weather change. We'll go through it sometimes. Now, I did say that we will address the earliest Christian writer. Here's a quote from Dr. Bob D. Ehrman in his book, from his book, Did Jesus Exist? The Apostle Paul is our earliest surviving Christian author of any kind. Many readers of the Bible assume that the Gospels were the first books of the New Testament to be written since they appear first in the New Testament and discuss the life of Jesus, who obviously started it all. But Paul was writing some years before the Gospels. His first letter, 1 Thessalonians, is usually dated to 49 CE. His last, Romans, to some 12 or 13 years after that. It is commonly said among mythicists that Paul does not speak about the historical man Jesus and has no understanding of the historical man Jesus. This simply is not true, as an examination of his writing shows full well. Apparently, one reason mythicists want to make this claim is precisely that Paul is our earliest available witness, writing within 20 years of the traditional date of Jesus' death. One way that some mythicists have gotten around the problem that is, sorry, one way that some mythicists have gotten around the problem that this, our earliest Christian source, refers to the historical Jesus in several places is by claiming that these references to Jesus were not originally in Paul's writing. But it is important to remember that when Christians today think about their faith, they often think about the ultimate source of their faith in the New Testament, which begins with Gospels that describe things Jesus said and did. And so for Christians today, it only makes sense that a Christian is informed about Jesus' life. But when Paul was writing, there were no Gospels, they were written later. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? Of course, when we read the Bible, we have those Gospels of the disciples of Jesus, those whom we are told followed Jesus, seen and heard what he did and said. It comes first in the gospel. So we're led to think that, of course, Paul comes in the picture later. The story says that Paul had a vision, isn't that right? I think he lost his eyesight for a while. He was blind for a while, but I said, I think I read that a long time ago. He was persecuting Christians. That's what we are told. So if he was persecuting Christians, we could logically think that the accounts of Jesus's life were already in circulation. Some people might say, well, they were being spread orally, verbally. But Dr. Bob Ehrman tells us that Paul is our earliest surviving Christian author of any kind. Now, the writings of Paul, at the time when Paul was writing, there were no gospels. They were written later. Greetings to Nehemiah Tao. Nehemiah Tao wrote, "This is the story of Oseth and Osar." My opinion is different. I do not share that opinion, but to each his own. Like some people say, we can agree to disagree. And then Nehemiah Tao wrote, Constantine created Christianity. Well, who would have thought so? What is your take regarding Bart Ehrman's claim, Bart Ehrman's affirmation that Paul is the earliest Christian author of any kind, earliest surviving Christian author of any kind? Hmm. Well. Feel free to leave your comments, make your observations, and ask your questions. But we are going to go through a few quotes. We are going to go through some of the things that we've learned from a different angle, from a different perspective. This is not light work. That's a PhD right there. World renowned, world famous Christian scholar. Hmm. Why don't you ask your friends who are Christians about that and see what they have to say? I'm curious. Feel free. If you don't have any input yourself, ask your Christian friends. Ask your Christian friends. And feel free to share what you were told. I'm curious to know. This is not one of the things that I used to talk about when I was addressing Christians. But from now on, I will. Anyway, I have another quote regarding God and his family. It will come shortly in a few minutes. I just have to do a French video and I'll be back in English. You have to read all books in order to know. Well, feel free to get back with us. I will do a brief video in French and then I will do another video in English. So you are welcome. Stay tuned. It would not be long, just a matter of minutes. Take care for now. Be safe.